back to Let's Work the Day with Tony Ray. If this is your very first time, my name is Tony. Thank you so much for being here. So I am giving you a full face beginner tutorial. So I know in my other makeup for beginners video, it was more of a softer look. I didn't do lashes that day. I think I was rushing. Who knows what happened? But I wanted to do a very beginner friendly tutorial on how to do a full face of makeup and giving some of my updated tips that I have actually been implementing into my makeup routine. So let's get started. Well, I am going to start off on the brows. Now, let me just throw this tip out there first and foremost. Makeup is art, okay? So before you watch this video, don't have it set in your mind that you need to do everything that I'm doing. This is what works best for me. So keep that in mind, that makeup again is art, and that you need to take whatever from this video that works for you. If you need to change some, alter some things, whatever you need to do, that should be your approach when you're watching any kind of tutorial. I don't care if it's hair, cooking. You have to just take out what you need that works best for you. So when I say that, I'm starting on my brows because I know some people like their brows fuller, some people like them thinner, some people cut their brows and just draw them on. It is personal preference. So for me, I actually like my brows being a lot fuller because I really don't like to do a lot on my brows. I just kind of like to fill them in with a little bit of color, throw some concealer on, shape them up, and that's pretty much it. I do prefer my brows to be just very natural. I'm going in with my brow gel, and this is my Fake It brow gel. This is my girl Dahlia's brand. I will link the eyebrow gel down at the description box, so make sure you check that out. This is my Precisely My Brow Pencil. So when you like what you like, you don't necessarily steer from it. It's a very thin tip on the pencil, and it makes it easier for gliding on and coloring and filling in and doing all that. So what I'm doing is I'm just filling in my eyebrows just slightly. I'm not doing a lot at all. I like to extend down the bottom of my eyebrow. So this line down here, I like to extend that out just a little bit. And then I also make small strokes at the front end just to get that gradient look. What I do for the rest of the brow is I'm going to take my line and I'm gonna start that at the very beginning of my brow, and I will go ahead and shape it out on the bottom. So I'll kind of go through with the rest of the brow and shape it in with a line on the bottom. Now, on the top of the brow, in order to get that very faded and gradient look, you do not want to start your top line all the way over here where you made your strokes. You don't want to do that. You want to start that line way back here. Very soft. So now you can see I've cleaned up my line at the top. I'll bring it over just a little bit more. So you see I have my line cleaned up at the top, but I brung it back. That way, whenever you go in with your concealer and you brush everything into place, that's how you're gonna get that very faded gradient look to your brows. You don't wanna start that top line all the way over here. So again, that's what works for me. Try it out, or if you prefer to wear your brows a little bit darker, then you would want to go ahead and fill that line in all the way over to where the other line is and meet them at the same place. Moving on to concealer. So if you are a beginner, I suggest doing only a skin tone concealer because, you know, you don't want to have to buy a lot of products starting off. So what I have is my Maybelline Fit Me, which is a very beginner friendly concealer. And then I also have my Born This Way by Too Faced, which is a little more on the higher price point. I won't say higher end, but a higher price point of the map. So what I usually do is I will take my Maybelline Fit Me, because this is more of a true skin tone match for me, and I will put that in the inner corner of my brow. So I'll go ahead and show you. I'm gonna start that right at the beginning. And this is because I don't like the highlight or the super light eyebrow, and that's because sometimes, you know, depending on the outfit really, or depending on the look that you're trying to do, I could very well use this lighter color as my underbrow color for concealer, but I'm going for more of an everyday look today. So I'm going to use two different colors. That way, when my brow starts off, it really fades into what my true skin complexion is, and then it's going to kind of go into this really nice soft, because I don't want it too light, but a nice soft light underbrow shade. I'm gonna grab my brush, which is my Morphe M224 brush. It's just a very flat oval brush. So if you're doing brows, I suggest doing something that's really flat and oval, kind of on the larger side, to go ahead and help you sculpt out your brows, okay? So I'm just gonna take that color. I'm always gonna take my flat side first, and I'm gonna move that product down my lid. And then it's okay once it starts blending into that lighter color, and then go ahead and drag that product downward. Because when you start to create your line, you want to make sure that you don't have too much product bulked up at the top. You want that to really be blended down so you can get a nice seamless line without it being like too juicy, because this is more of a liquid based product versus I have another concealer that is a lot thicker, and we want to be able to move this product around. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so we're gonna bring that down, and you can pretty much start wherever you're comfortable as far as creating your line. So I always, of course, just start at the beginning. And kind of sculpt out my brow. And then you see I have a little bit of smudging here because I'm moving that product. So just make sure you're going back with your brow brush that you're using for your concealer, and make sure that you're constantly make sure you're constantly blending that product out, okay? So we're going to go ahead and jump into getting the face ready for the foundation. Now today you're going to see me use two different primers, and here's why. Under my eye, or under the eye in general, not just my eye, under the eye in general, we want to make sure that that area is super hydrated. So for me, I have combination skin. I don't get too oily and I don't get too dry, but jelly type consistency products work a lot better on my face. So you have to kind of determine what kind of skin you have in order to determine what kind of products are going to be best for you. So I stopped using foundation under my eye where I put my concealer at, because I was noticing that I was creasing a lot more, and I had been doing I did a video a couple of days ago where I actually tried it out, and I liked how it turned out. So for the full face routine, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just using my kind of creamier and juicier consistency concealers instead of using my soft matte, which is what I used the other day. Milk Hydro Primer. This is, I mean, honey, it's one of the staples in the makeup industry because of, I mean, it's just wonderful. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it. So I'm going to focus this Hydro Grip Primer right under my eye area. And I'm gonna kind of bring that around in the area around my nose. I'm only doing this again because those are the areas that I crease the most. So to prevent your makeup from separating, you want to make sure that those areas are super hydrated. For the rest of my face, I'm going to go in with my NARS Radiance primer, and this actually does have an SPF 35 on it. So this is really good anyway for being out in the summertime with the elements. It's hot, the sun is out, and we really want to make sure that our skin is protected under this makeup, because baby, you can put makeup on all day long, but it's what's underneath that makeup that counts. So you want your skin to be protected while you're wearing your makeup. And y'all see I had to come up out my scarf because now I'm about to put my foundation on, and baby, I need to make sure that everything is blended going up into that forehead, okay? I'm using my Too Faced Born This Way. So again, this is where I say, take what you need, leave what you don't. Because when I put my foundation on, I'm gonna start with a brush, right? Because I feel like when you have your brush, you can kind of really get it into those little areas around the face. But you're actually gonna go ahead and see me use a wet sponge, and this is my Real Technique foundation sponge that I'm using. And you're gonna go ahead and see me go in and blend all of those areas out. I just personally feel like when I use my sponge after to kind of blend out the rest of my foundation, I feel like my application is a lot smoother than what it is with just the brush or just the sponge by itself. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this applied on my face, just kind of pressing in the areas that I want this foundation to be concentrated in. Again, not focusing on the areas that are under the eye because we're going to just put our concealer in that area. And then I like to bring my makeup down into my chin, which will blend into my neck, because anytime that you're doing your foundation, I always suggest that you blend your neck area into the bottom of your chin. That's going to give you the most accurate color blend, I feel like. Well, again, it worked for me, but that's kind of how I get my foundations. Because right now, I know y'all probably like, oh my gosh, girl, you are orange. But once I blend it out, it's going to look a lot different. Trust me, I tried it. I'm going to go ahead and with my Too Faced Born This Way concealer, I'm going to go ahead and get my eyes prepped. That way I can make sure that I'm not blending into these areas. So now y'all can see as I'm blending this color down from my face into my neck, you see it's starting to disappear. So like I said, I know it's a little orangey when it goes on, but that's why I suggest that you blend that color into your neck area, because you don't want your makeup to just stop right at your chin. That's never how you would wear your makeup. Like, I'm not gonna just put my foundation right here and cut my face off. No, you want to blend that down because you don't want people to tell that you have on foundation and all that. You want to be able to blend all of that out into your neck. So keep that in mind, again, whenever you are looking for a new foundation color. And I also suggest do not buy a foundation the same day that you try it on, because you have to think about how the lighting is in the stores. You have to think about how the lighting is outside. So my best suggestion is you're going to want to pick your foundation color based off of how your skin looks in the sun, in the natural light. That is going to be your best option. So what you can do is you can always ask when you're at the store for a sample, to go ahead and take a sample home, or what I've done several times over is buy a foundation, put it on when I get home. If it don't match, take it back. You got your receipt. So hey, that's what it's for. I've let my concealer set in the corner of my eye for a little while now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my sponge and blend that out. Now, no, I'm not gonna use this sponge. I'm going to use a dedicated sponge for my concealer area. So I like to use my Beauty Blender sponge. Beauty blenders are great. Don't get me wrong. It's a $20 sponge. So if you're new to makeup, I'm not gonna go and tell you to get a $20 sponge. I feel like the Real Technique sponges work just as great as the Beauty Blender. It's just all in what you like to spend your money on. So for me, I like trying out new products and testing makeup, sponges, brushes, whatever the case. So like I said, if you're really into doing your makeup regularly, I would say, yeah, definitely go ahead and invest in the Beauty Blender. But if you're just, someone who just does it here and there, I would not suggest getting a $20 Beauty Blender. That's just me. Now, I am going to start blending all of that concealer under my eye and on my eyelid. So I'm going to make sure that all of this area is blended out, because I'm not doing eyeshadow today. I'm just going to use my bronzer. I feel like bronzer you can use for so many things. So I'm just going to use my bronzer today to go ahead and put a little bit of color back into my eye. But for now, just go ahead and, like I said, make sure you blend out that area with your dedicated concealer sponge. I'm going to take my same two concealers. I'm going to take my lighter color down the bridge of my nose. And I'm also going to use that in my cubic bow. But I'm going to switch that, and I'm going to use my skin tone concealer on my bottom area and on my forehead. I choose to use my skin tone concealer in these two areas because, again, I am going for an everyday face. And even on my like full face days, some days I typically do not use the lighter color on my forehead and my chin, only because I feel like it gives me a super highlighted look, and I don't like that all the time. So while I go ahead and blend out the rest of that, I am going to take just a little bit more concealer, and I'm going to let that set in the corner of my eyes while I get everything else blended out, because I want to make sure that I blend out my concealer immediately before I put my powder. That way I can make sure that my creases are nice and covered, and when I set my makeup with my powder, everything is blended and seamless. That way we can make sure that we don't have no creasing. Okay, all right. And then once you have that blended out, just kind of take that same sponge that you have with your foundation and kind of go around the areas right around where you just blended out that lighter color, just so you can make sure that everything blends into the rest of your makeup. So I want this to make sure that it's nice and blended around where my foundation is, and that I don't have any like random blotches of makeup that's not blended out, because that ain't what you want and it ain't cute. I'm using my NARS Laguna, and this is the Laguna number 4. I really love this bronzer. Like I said, it's a cream product, and I do feel as though it just blends very nicely. So I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to do that in this area right here. One tip that I can give when it comes to contour or bronzing, because you're basically going to bronze in the areas that you would contour anyway, you have a bone right there on your cheekbone. But so what you want to do is place that bronzer right there where you feel that bone at, and kind of wrap it around and hug it on your cheek. You do not want to drag that product down, because what happens is if you make a line going downward, by the time you get done with all your makeup and you look in the mirror, your face is going to become elongated downwards. That is not what you want. You don't want your face to be dragged down. You want the face to be lifted up. Hug that product right there where that bone is. And when you blend your bronzer, you want to blend it upward. I'm going to take my cream blush, and this is my NARS Air Matte Blush. This is the color Freedom. It's super pretty. So I'm going to take it's kind of like a flat, fluffy, kind of oval, a little bit on the dense side. I'm going to take that, dip into that cream product, and I'm going to put that right above where I bronzed. So you want to kind of swiping motions, blend it out. You don't want to like really rub it hard, because if you rub it too hard, you're going to rub off the makeup that you've already applied. You don't want to do that. You want to take that brush and lightly blend that out. Go ahead and get your powder ready to set under the eyes. So I'm using my Laura Mercier, and this is my Honey Translucent Powder. So this is what I'm going to use to set under my eye. So you're going to want to make sure that that's good and ready, because immediately after you blend out that concealer under your eye, you want to set your eyes. So taking my beauty blender, which was my dedicated sponge for my concealer, blend that out. And then immediately I have a dedicated sponge, another sponge, yes, a dedicated sponge for my powder. I'm going to dip into that, brush it off on the edge, and I'm going to dab that on the back of my hand, because you do not want to set your eyes with too much powder. That is going to crease your eyes immediately. You want to make sure that you are putting that powder on a little bit at a time. That is how you get minimal creasing. So again, remember, I didn't put foundation under my eye. I really just put in my hydrating primer gel, my concealer, and my powder, and I have very minimal creasing. I'm gonna go ahead and take my All Nighter spray, and this is an Urban Decay product. This is their setting spray. I'm gonna take this and spray this all over my face. So the reason you want to take that All Nighter spray is because before you set the face with the spray, Remember, all of these products are just cream. So you can literally take your finger, wipe your face, and all that makeup that you just put on, it's gonna come right on off on that finger, right? But we put setting spray on the face so that we can really hold all that makeup together, fuse it together, spray it, and you have less probability, I won't say it won't happen, but you have less probability of any of your makeup sliding off, like if you were to touch your face or anything like that, because you have that setting spray on. My powdered form bronzer, you notice I didn't sculpt out my nose yet, and that's because I wanted to show you the difference of being able to use the powdered form bronzer after you spray your face versus the cream form before you spray your face. Now, some people, to each his own. Again, remember I said you gotta take what you want and leave what you don't. Some people like to put their powdered products on before you spray as well. For me, I like to go ahead and just take my powdered products after I spray my face because all of those cream products I want to fuse together. This is my bronzer that I'm going to take to sculpt out my nose. So I'm not doing a hard sculpt or anything like that. I'm just taking this and kind of doing just a little bit, not a nose contour per se, but I am adding just a little bit of sculpting around my nose with my bronzer. Make sure you just blend that out, drag that downward, and kind of round out around the nose. You don't want two straight lines going down. You want to make sure that anything that you sculpt on the nose, kind of bring that around and shade it and blend it outwards around the nose. Using the bronzer for a multi-use purpose. This is how I'm going to do that. I'm only going to use my bronzer on my brows. I feel like if you're new to makeup and you're starting off, this is a great way to save on money because, again, we don't want to go out spending hundreds of dollars at one time getting makeup. So use your bronzer as your eyeshadow because it is a color that's going to be very similar to your skin tone. So for me, my color is a little bit warmer. So I'm just going to take this bronzer and kind of stamp it right there on the end of my eyes and blend that out in a circular motion. All that's going to do is create just a little bit of depth in my eyes so that it doesn't all look one shade. It's going to add just a hint of a smudged, darker look, not too dark, but it's going to warm up the eyes in that area as well. So to tie the eyes together, y'all can see I went ahead and put on one of my lashes. I have my lash prepped and ready. I'm going to apply this lash in the middle of my eye first and then kind of guide out where I want the rest. The only thing that we have left to do is to go ahead and put on a lipstick and some highlighters. So for my highlighter, I've got this super cute palette from Fenty, and I want y'all to see this palette because baby, it's fire. So do y'all see how beautiful the colors are? This is a dual highlighter palette from Fenty Beauty, and the colors on this are called Mean Money and Hustler Baby. Okay, so I think I'm going to go in with this shimmery side over here. It's a little more golden and it will go really nice with my skin tone. I'll be kind of outside today, so I want to make sure that I have a nice highlight. Okay, so if I can find my brush, I'm going to go ahead and dip into that and brush that right along top of where my bronzer and cream base. What is going on with my brush? Oh my gosh, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of that on my nose as well. Kind of blend that out with your finger. I'm gonna take that on the bridge of my nose as well and blend that out with my finger. And then I'm gonna take that over my cupid's bow area and kind of blend that out with my finger as well. I am taking my NYX chocolate brown lip pencil, and this is in the color Espresso. So I'm taking my pencil and I'm gonna line out my lip. So once I have my lips lined out, I'm gonna kind of take my pencil and smudge down that line. Take my NYX what is this, a gloss? I can't remember. This is my soft matte lip cream, and this is in the color London. So I smudged out my chocolate brown line, and I'm doing a nude lip today, so I'm gonna take this right in that middle area where I just did my smudge line on my pencil and really like mash that together. think I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of gloss on top of that. So let me grab my gloss. I think this was a ColourPop gloss, but the name rubbed out. I would show y'all and tell y'all color, but I don't know because it's smudged off. So I'm just gonna hit a little bit right there in the middle. Let me tell y'all what I forgot to do. I forgot to hit the bottom of my face with my skin tone powder. So if you forget something, it's not the end of the world. You can still put it on. Just put a little bit more setting spray when you get done. So I'm gonna go ahead. See, I set all of my stuff out, I promise, and I just keep seeming to lay stuff down and can't see what to do. Anyway, I have my skin tone powder, which is my Hazelnut by Fenty. I'm just gonna go ahead and blend into the bottom of my neck. Remember, we blended that down. Y'all see I'm talking and my voice is shaking. Anyway, I'm gonna blend that down into my face into my neck because I brought my foundation down into my neck. So we wanna make sure that all of that is set in place too. And it's gonna take a little more. I don't need a lot. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure I hit it with just a little bit of powder since I did bring that product down. You can go ahead and spray in those areas one more time. Oh Lord. So those are the vibes for today's look. I will go ahead and zoom in for you all just so you can see how good this look turned out. I feel like this is an everyday full face. So it's giving glam, it's giving soft glam, it's giving everyday, it's giving dinner vibes, it's all of them in between, okay? Like, this is why I love creating a look like this, because it's just a universal look that can be paired with any kind of event, any kind of time of day, whatever the case. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed the look today. And remember, makeup is art. So on this video, please remember, take what you need, leave what you don't. It's that simple. When you're creating your look, you have to think about what is best for your skin tone, your look, the overall vibe that you're going for.